Where are we? Sarah Slater will only eat spaghetti hoops and beef brisket. People have stopped inviting her for dinner. She's a great writer, she's much better than that. She moved today, and we're really pleased that she's here. Please put your hands together for Sarah Slater!
Hello, you lovely people. I am technically still in the throes of moving, and when I signed up to do this, I did know that I would be in the throes of moving. But I thought, great, what about moving? And then I thought about times that I've moved in my life. And that got really, woo! One time hitchhiking with a Singer sewing machine from the M32 junction when I moved out of Bristol in 1987. Another time moving to Arizona with a backpack and a passport and a can of orange juice. Another time moving 5 years ago, this sofa from London to Bristol. And I just moved it again now. So, not quite as saucy, but we'll give it a go. So far, so good. After 25 years of living in squats in London, I got a place in Bristol. The move date was just after Shambhala Festival. I'd fallen off a high structure at the festival and put my back out. That's a whole bloody story in that sentence, isn't there, really? Never mind, we'll keep going. To such an extent, I couldn't drive my van, and I had to put my new boyfriend, Reed Festival Fling, on the van insurance so he could drive back to London. Despite putting his 500cc motorbike in the back of my van with the bed and the sofa and everything else, the crippled state I was in, he still offered to help. In fact, it seemed to empower him having someone who needed looking after, and amazingly, he drove with me to London. Everything was packed up in London. I just needed to rent an extra van and load up and drive in Convoy back to Bristol with all my life intact. Then arriving in Bristol, there was a neighbour who called the police because I parked in an unmarked parking spot and I immediately got a fine. Unloading the van, it was a mere 200 yards from the curb to the front door and 2 flights of stairs. Luckily, Luckily, the festival fling I'd pulled was an action hero. The trickier the task, the more able he became. Day-to-day life was mundane and he messed up. But complex feats of strength and logistic he excelled at. He just needed to be kept busy. ADHD, PTSD, on the spectrum, perfect combo, never still, never boring. Not to be said for mental disorder. One of the items we had to move was a family heirloom that I love. It's a 100-year-old Chesterfield horsehair stuffed sofa. That was a different challenge. After getting up the stairs, it wouldn't go through the door. It spent weeks in the downstairs hall. We figured out that if we took the window out of the Georgian first floor house, flat, it needed to be moved and stored safely with the internal ropes and pulley system still attached without breaking any of the dozen panes of glass in the window frame. Logistics. We rented 2 long ladders and a long thick bit of rope. The ladders reached up under the window ledge and were strapped to the basement railings. The sofa was swaddled in blankets, with large sheets of cardboard underneath to help it slide up the thick rope with 2 thick men. Mr. ADHD or PTSD or ex-army boxing champion Spectrum Slider, or John, or TJ as he was known. He was known as TJ because he was tattooed and his name was John. Guess what? He had lots of tattoos. Yeah, his name was John. So. The full history of the last few decades of tattoos was a crossing. Religious crosses, Celtic armbands, a full-back Maori mask, pouncing tigers, barbed wire bracelets, Japanese leg pieces, his children's birthdates tattooed on him, lest he forget, and the prison branding, lest he forget. He'd worked mostly in security up until that point. And he had a friend with him, a vegan pacifist who taught sewing to homeless people. The rope that came out of the upstairs window dangled like a tampon string, looking comical and ineffective. He tackled it and lassoed the rope around the sofa at the foot of the ladder. The cocoon of blankets made the sofa look rather like a hungry caterpillar, waiting to be transformed into a thing of beauty and function in my life. As if it could have popped out of that chrysalis a little sooner, those wings might have helped. TJ was psyching himself up like a prize foxer might before a fight, pacing and jumping up and down, breathing deeply and doing leg crunches. He got into the position at the bottom of the ladder and stepped up onto the 3rd rung and shouted to the anchor inside. The vegan, with his whippet-thin legs, quaked and braced against the inside of the window. Ready? Pull up the slack! TJ had the rope tight and backed up the ladder one rung at a time, pulling the sofa up hand over hand. It was like something coming out of the docks at Bristol, pulling up the anchor, or drawing on the sail, or a man being pulled from the depth of the sea. Hello. I'd imagined I'd help, pushing the sofa up, but it was soon above my head, and out of reach, quite literally. I hopped up and down, rather ineffectually at the bottom. I flapped, quite literally like a bird with a broken wing. TJ made steady progress backwards up the ladder, moving up a few rungs at a time, holding the sofa, and then bending down heavily and bringing it up behind him. His taut bellies bending and unfolding as he came up the ladder. Then, when unfurled and erect, he stared, completely focused, out into the middle distance, sucking in the life force of the molecules around him. I felt I should have been cheering or clapping, but I was frozen in a loading loop, holding my breath. Holding my breath, as if breathing out would unbalance the cosmos and the sofa would fall. A tight voice shouted out, "I'm nearly there!" And with just a sofa lengths to go, I screamed, "Nearly!" Almost exploding with the compressed breath. Now the trick was for him to get in the window and pull the sofa up behind him. TJ jumped in the window like a nimble acrobat, swooping his body inside without losing tension and letting it slip. The vegan whippet anchor jumped up to hug or to help, and TJ momentarily slipped. TJ braced his legs against the window in almost full layout. He was breathing like a bull now, snorting, his nostrils flaring, sucking in the air like a dying fish. The sofa had to be pulled up further. At the ledge, it would need to balance at a 45-degree angle to come in straight. No time to piss about now. More than half the sofa's weight tittering on the edge like a large baguette in the sky. There was a mighty heave-ho! Hard to pull it over the edge window ledge. Looking from below, it seemed to be slowly sucked in like a thick milkshake, almost inhaled. I listened for a loud thud of the sofa landing or TJ collapsing. I heard nothing, and I raced in the house and up the stairs. In the flat, he stood there shaking and panting. All his muscles in spasm from the extreme exertion, his eyes wide and manic, his body shuddering. He stood rooted, his whole body rising and falling gradually, his breathing starting to slow and twitch and then stilled. This took a good few minutes. He stepped back and leaned against the wall. He closed his eyes and then in full dramatic effect, he slid down the wall slowly, with each breath, breathing out, allowing him to collapse a little more. When he got to the floor, he seemed to pass out or go into a deep meditation for another 5 or 10 minutes or so. I must confess, I was just watching him. Just staring at him. His veins were still visible, pulsing. His skin was glistening with sweat. It was a vision of virility. My own hero. My God. He knew I was watching him. He looked up and tossed his head theatrically. He smiled and winked. And then with the worst ever cockney expression I have ever heard, he said, "Well, darling, that's got to be worth a BJ for TJ." It's not exactly what you call a pole dart moment, but it kind of worked. Yeah, so